So thank you very much again for joining this live. I thought I'm supposed to sort of do this one because of the many questions that I've been receiving on my WhatsApp and just other inboxes on social medias, where in guidance and even just school kids were sort of asking a couple of questions that I felt were revolving around the very same thing, which just sort of shows the uncertainty of how maybe to ride the wave of this high school life. So then I just said, okay, I'll go ahead and then do a presentation, which I call the guide for grade 8 to 12, under the title called How to Make Your High School Lifestyle Work for You. There, I'm not sure if I'm appearing, but if I'm not, it doesn't matter. What I'm going to be sharing here is what's really going to be doing to matter. The people who might find this very useful, it's everyone. Could be guidance, could be the school kids themselves, or just a brother who has a little sister or a little brother who is in high school or who's about to start in high school. So the reason why I decided to talk about my life in particular is because I didn't want to go and look for motivational quotes from the internet that I can't even relate with when it comes to my life. I had a very interesting high school life. It was sort of different. I think maybe to think about it right now, it was sort of a bit weird, but I think it works out to be good over time, right? So the title here is going to be How to Make Your High School Lifestyle Work for You, and this is the guide on the good, the challenging, and how to navigate it all. And this is based on my life lesson and maybe some other things that I feel are much more useful in today's world. Sure. The outlines, again, it's going to be my life story and anything in between. I'll talk a little bit about my grade 8 on how I sort of adapted to the new high school and the new environment altogether. And then the grade 10, it was good in the eye of Elena, but, it wasn't so good when it comes to school stuff. And obviously the grade 12, which was the finish line, and everything just happened to be wonderful. Cool. A little about me. Well, like I said, with time I got to understand why many people never really understood me. I think I was one of the weird kids. I'm not sure if I'm still weird, which was fine. I think it sort of then helped me to separate myself from how the whole world or the rest of my high school was sort of living, and then I sort of lived in some other way with my own principles and sort of red lines and of what to do and what not to do. So I sat down, took a long time to think about these three things, which I think for me only the first two really gets to resonate with my high school, and I added the third one, which was communication, because it's just how life is right now. So these are the things that really matter in high school life. Of course, number one, it's marks. You have to be able to pass. I mean, you can make great relationships and then you'll be the most popular guy at school or whatever the case may be. If you're not passing, well, you're not going anywhere. You're just going to stay in high school and eventually things might not even end up working well for you. And then again, relationships. We're not talking about, the other one when it's a jolo or whatever the case may be, but rather relationships as in the people that you surround yourself with, be it the relationship with your teacher, the relationship with your parent as well or guardian, and as well as the relationship with your peers, because mostly with the peers, could sort of help you to make your high school good or bad. And you will get to understand why I'm saying all this when I try to sort of tell my life along this chat. And the last one, it's communication, which I don't think I had full of it, but I had it to some sort of extent, because I remember we used to sort of go to our maths teacher from time to time just to sort of show them where we are at. And we could really see how they were excited by us coming in and all those kind of things. And they'll be even more interested to sort of help us, give us even more resources to go and read and stuff like that. So that whole communication with our teachers sort of then helped or were the things that I thought really mattered. Did I do it 100%? Well, it doesn't matter. I at least did it. Um, so maybe just to tell a little bit about me, right? It's I always say I'm a farm boy. I grew up very close to my late grandpa. When I learned a lot of, if not most, if not all, of the principles in my life from it, right? And that sort of just made my life easier, and I was sort of calm in life knowing that at least I have principles, and at least I have I just felt like I have things figured out in general. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm sort of chilled, and then I feel like I was taught well. But fast forward it to grade 8, which is where everything sort of matters for you guys, right? I remember I went to a school or high school called Labor Combined School, right? And it was a new school. Again, no friends, and I was even shy to do anything. I remember one time during break, well, I was even shy to go buy food and then eat where other people were sort of accessible. Would sort of go to the sports field and then get some other tree and then, eat that side and all, right? And I mean, it just passed by really quick. Funny enough, I then sort of made friends, obviously, over time. But then the first 1 or 2 weeks, it was a bit difficult to sort of juggle. But again, for somebody who's in grade 8 right now, I would say, well, don't really beat up yourself. Just make sure you relax and make good friends. And then if you can't make any good friends, it's still fine. The good ones will come along the way. It happens. And yeah, that was just me. I'm going to rush to grade 10 and then grade 12 because I feel like that is where the stuff really matters. Oh, okay. There's something that popped up. What were my marks? I was passing. I remember in somewhere grade 8, grade 9, I was averaging, let's just say 50 and 60s, somewhere 40s. So we were passing. So I'm not gonna try to sound a bit genius here. I'm just going to say what it was. We were passing, and then that's it, right? Which means I didn't really care much about my marks. But remember, from the things that I said really matter. Marks is what? Number one. And for me in grade 8, I didn't really care much. Okay, we jumped to grade 9. It was just normal like grade 8. But then the real test came in grade 10. So I think at that time, that's when the real effects of puberty really kicked in, which means if you are in class, you're most likely going to be disruptive and you want sort of attention. You want ladies or whoever that you want attention from to sort of maybe notice you in any way. And yeah, that then goes against what maybe the classroom is meant for. So if the teacher is doing something else and you're doing something else, most likely you're not even going to get anything from that session or from that class, which at the end of the day will make sure that you don't even pass at all. The other big highlight for me is I almost failed. I mean, this obviously people will be like, how? Why? I mean, I remember this one paper of geography. It was like 27%. It was quite embarrassing because I never really got that mark or anything below whatever 30 or 40 before then. And yeah, I think that's when we sort of realized, okay, I think grade 10 is not one of those when it's like grade 9 and 8 where you could just prepare a night before and then that's it. You have to sort of pay attention when people are talking because most of the concepts gets to change and most of the new concepts are introduced in grade 10 and those are the foundational concepts that you definitely going to use in your grade 11 and all the way to grade 12. So to close this one, I would just obviously say in grade 10, I don't really know what happened. I don't even know how I went through. If I take out my report right now, I'll probably be one of the most embarrassing reports I've ever sort of had. But marks, it was just 40/50s again. Remember, we said this matters. Marks, it was just 40s, 50s. Relationships, well, we're still good. I had friends. I had a few teachers who were sort of, noticing what we could be and maybe what could be our potential. And obviously, communication, well, we didn't really have it. School didn't really matter that much. Then, I mean, you probably ask yourself, how did you then get to pass your grade 12 and with a couple of distinctions in your mark, and then obviously your life after that? I remember when we were in grade 11 with my friend. I remember somewhere around March when we were getting the results of March grade 11. A very good friend of mine got back his script of life science and he got 65. He was one of the top in the class at that time. And we were busy clapping hands. I don't know if I was clapping hands because I'm sort of thinking, how is that possible? Or I was clapping hands because really I'm saying, oh, the boy did well. But of course, I was saying the boy did well and I was really applauding that. But then that is when the point or the moment we're in, sudden motivation just started, to ignite, which means somewhere around Marchish, and then somewhere June, we were sort of then picking up from there. And then, a lot of things happened from there. So what was funny about that was we were a group of like 4 primarily, and then we had, other friends that we sort of could form within a group. The effect that one friend of mine had, I think everyone will really thank him for that, right? Was it was quite huge. It didn't only get to ignite sort of us or him and us only. It then took an effect to the outer group, and then the outer group then took it to the other people, the next desk, and then people then started upping the game, and then the average from the class then started growing a little bit. And that was it. If maybe I can share a few things maybe that I got to use maybe that time when I was in grade 11. I remember one time when I got into class, everyone was talking about, I think there was a learning channel somewhere on some of these channels that we see up here. And then I got back to it, and then I watched once, I watched the second day, I watched the third day. Well, honest answer, I didn't understand it. I didn't like it. And there could be reasons why, right? But I just feel like I wasn't really understanding it anywhere there, right? Same applies to, doing some extra classes around my area. I wasn't understanding it. And, until then I got to realize if I put the time myself, I could even get more from the whole studying or from the whole book than having to, force to just do what other people are doing. And I think that's where, again, I talk about my weird way of doing things, or how my lifestyle was sort of a bit different from how everybody was sort of doing things. People were going to extra classes. People were doing these learning channels. People were doing study groups. I didn't understand them. I think for me, I felt they were destructive. I wouldn't mind sitting for 30 minutes with a brother of mine, and then we go through a couple of topics and stuff. But after that, I do need my own time, and then just, got back. And I'm not forcing or suggesting to people to do that as well. I'm just telling you that, well, I got to then find what works best for me, and then I sort of use that to be an advantage to also take me to the thing. So this graph, I was sort of writing it to just sort of represent how my marks got to happen or got to increase over time. So if you check, this black one was sort of the previous grades, and then this one is like how the grade 11 and sort of grade 12 happened. So at least now we can start seeing that the marks are picking up. They're going at least an average of 50, 60. I don't know if I had a 70, but if I had one, I did well then in my grade 11. Then the last one, let's talk about the grade 12. So with this one, since we already had the motivation from grade 11, Then boom, the first test, I think I was like having a tie with the genius of the class in physics. I think at 92%. I know the geniuses are like, well, and why didn't you just get 100? But I got 92. That was the best for me. I was even surprised as well that I got it as well. The reason why I'm taking out the number is so that you can just sort of see what happened throughout and maybe some of the events that really got to contribute towards that change of scenery. And for me, that test not only was just good marks, but it sort of tested, I got to test myself and see what was really possible. And from that moment, I never looked back. When I say I never looked back, it means I started becoming a bit more serious with my books. If I have to put in at least 2 hours every day just to prepare, do that homework, do that assignment, most likely by myself, do whatever I need to do to keep myself, at the top of this game, then I was doing it from that moment. So with that whole story of what grade 12 is, right? I think there are so many people who are being told that, well, you can be good to this point or be good to that level or be good only for these things, right? Well, if you have never tried them, you will never know. So whatever maybe somebody's telling you, you're not so good with maths. Well, you will never know until you give it a try yourself. And maybe that could be where your motivation comes in, and that maths, pick up might even help other subjects to do here. So, like I said, marks became the center of attention. What that means? It means that, sure, I had friends, I had family, I had church as well, and other things, right? But I then decided, well, I need to get my good marks here, which means anything else comes second to my marks for that year, which means I had to sort of reprioritize. This time, it's a bit more strict because you only get a shot once in grade 12. I think they do allow you to repeat these days, but I felt, or I told myself, I only have one shot to go for grade 12, and then I'm going to make sure that this works. Marks became the center of attention, which means if sometimes a friend is saying they're going to this nice event that is good, well, you have the right to say no. Of course, depending on what you have put at the center. But for me, in grade 12, grade marks should be at the center of that. Be it, I don't know, some other stuff. You just prioritize marks and make sure that you are sort of doing well in your grade 12. So relationship was just the support of that, which means if I didn't understand some concepts, I could really utilize my friends because they all upped their game, and then they were sort of everyone was sort of an expert of something in almost every subject, which was sort of good. So again, we're still on the things that I think really matter: the marks, the communicate, the relationship, and the communication. Sure. So in grade 12, again, somebody might ask, how were my marks? I just remember, I think I got, was it 3 or 4 distinctions? Sure, geniuses would be telling me, why didn't I get 7? Guys, I was trying. I gave it my best. But yeah, I got about 6. No, not 6. I would love to, but I'm over that part to that time. I got about 3 or 4 distinctions, which is great, and the other ones were like sort of averaging a bit higher. But then should have, if I had continued with my way of living, or I wouldn't say my way of living, but the way I was doing things in grade 10, maybe in grade 12, or in grade 8, maybe in grade 12. I don't think I was going to be there. I don't think I was even going to realize the potential that I had in grade 12 if maybe I didn't sort of change some of those things. But I didn't stop being weird. Like I said, this topic is about how to make your high school lifestyle work for you, which means when you were talking about your marks, we're talking about your relationship, your communication, your life in high school, your everything that you do in high school. We are talking about you as an individual. Don't even think about your friend. Don't even think about your guardian or anyone else. Think about you. what is it that you want and what is it that you want to sort of set for yourself? And how do you even want to achieve it? And how do you make sure that your lifestyle, the way you live, if you can read a book perfectly on top of a tree, well, climb it. Don't care who's looking. Sure, it will be weird, but climb it and just do it and make sure that it sort of works for you. So this is a guide. This is not really a way to say live this way and there's no other way. And there was a very good reason why we even decided to go for it in February. It's so that you can just have a taste of your first months, I think 3 weeks or so, just to sort of have a feel of what's really going on. And then from that you take this talk and then put it against that and then reflect it. If you have to do it sometimes, you just take a book, you write on the other page what is really happening at school and then what is really happening with you or what you would like to do, how you would like to make your marks do well, if your relationship and the communication as well with your teachers. And then see how those things gets to mix. And if they don't mix, therefore, some of the things needs to be deprioritized and you prioritize yourself and your marks in high school. Otherwise, that was a very short one. I'm looking forward to have a few more this year, and this more of them will probably get a few professionals that are more professionals in certain fields, be it a teacher, be it a doctor, be it architects or anything else, and then we'll have a very good roundtable to discuss what maybe you could be looking at in high school. Otherwise, do we have any questions in any socials? No? Nothing?